Hi everyone. I thought I'd come on here as an introductory video to talk a little bit about my journey to become a tarot card reader. So I'm going to go back to 2017 where I had just had an operation on my foot and I was laid up for about 7 weeks and scrolling through my phone a lot, and I had decided at that point that I think I want to go back to therapy because I had been in therapy for years, in and out of therapy. And I thought, I'm gonna try to find a trauma coach, something for my childhood trauma. So I ended up finding someone, and I'm a firm believer now, only because of my shadow work that I've done, that the universe will always put things in our place for us. Sometimes we don't always see it. But I did start following her 2017. She introduced me to parts therapy. And you're going to hear me talk about parts because I've been able to apply my therapy to my tarot reading. And I'll tell you how I did that in a second. So she introduced me to parts therapy. So I had been 2 years into intensive therapy with her. And I had also been getting body work about every 2 weeks. I'd been getting craniosacral body work, energy work, you want to call it maybe. And so I did that in tandem with my therapy. And I would suggest that if you ever do any sort of body work like craniosacral, myofascial release, or Reiki, that you need to work with a therapist, because what happens is when you do body work, things will come up from your shadow and you need someone to work those out. And a lot of times you can block them too when they come out because you don't want to look at them, of course. It's just the nature of the shadow. So at the end of 2019, I had ended my marriage. I had retired from a 30-year teaching career, and I was 2 years into my intensive, deep shadow work. And what I thought, I had worked out a lot of my memories already from childhood. I am a survivor of sexual abuse and trafficking. So I thought, I worked out a lot. And throughout my, years of working on my intensive shadow work, I've told myself so many times, I'm done. And I think at that point I thought I was done. And at the time, I knew nothing about tarot. I might have heard the word, but I think I had a tendency at that point to be scrolling around my phone. And, sometimes when you're on this journey, you're going to find different addictions that are going to help you with your pain. And I definitely had quite a few of them. So my big one's food. I'm an overeater and a binger. And then I started watching tarot. This woman was talking and she was reading all these things, and she was talking about, things like twin flames and soulmates, and my marriage had ended and I was in a lot of pain, and more pain was to come, but I didn't know, because you never know what's in your shadow. You just don't know what you're going to uncover. And that's why I think people just kind of stay away from it. So I got hooked onto this one lady, and then and then there was another few readers I got hooked onto. And it got to a point where I was convinced that, and this was one of my parts that was kind of taken over, and I'll talk to you about it, but the part that I'm talking about that really took over was the Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups for me in all my readings is that younger part of us that is just trying to get the love that they didn't get from childhood. And every single one of us has parts, and every single one of us has a Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups is probably the most important card that you want to, heal, which is my love seeker and your love seeker, because that's the one that's, will do anything for love. And so I was convinced through tarot reading, and I would listen to about 3 or 4 of them. And at this point, this was in, end of 2019, I was binging excessively, like you would maybe on Netflix, on my tarot readers. I didn't understand a thing about the cards or what they meant, what the suits meant, but I just listened to their messages. And I had convinced myself that there was a certain person in my life that I think I was falling in love with. And so I had seen a lot of red flags around this person earlier. And I knew, my adult self knew that, this person was not for me. And it didn't matter, because when you're on this journey, sometimes you really can, grab onto things because you don't want to face the pain. And you just want the pain to go away, like our knights in the deck. They just want the pain to go. They don't want to face any of their pain. And so I'm going to I won't give you all the details, but what had happened was I made a major decision, and based on tarot cards. And I know at that time I've heard since that people do that. People make decisions based on tarot cards, and it can be dangerous, because if you go online and you look at most tarot readers, they are talking about love and love coming in for you. I know one particular tarot reader out there has so many followers, and she would have been one that I had listened to at the time. And she talks about love coming in, and this person coming in, and that person coming in. And I think we grab onto that. So that's what I did. And what had happened was, there was a huge rejection that came about that followed everything. And that sent me into, that was a huge trigger for me, that triggered my trauma. And you're going to talk about triggers. I'll be talking about triggers on this channel, but it triggered the whole side of the trauma that came from my father's side, which I probably would not have been willing to look at the time, because it was very painful. So, and even my life coach had said at that time, she said, well, this was something, that was orchestrated by the universe, because, and I'll talk about patterns, like if you do not face your shadow, these patterns are going to keep coming up for you and coming up for you. And finally, until the universe takes a baseball bat and the tower moment comes and just goes, it's time. Like, it was time for me to face, and my poor love seeker, it was time for me to heal this part of me that I had ignored for so long, that was in so much pain. And so luckily I had a therapist that really was there to help me get through the deep, deep pain that I spent in COVID, literally on my bedroom floor, purging and purging and purging and purging layers of my shadow. And it, it went on for months, I can say, and until I got through all these memories. I don't want to say all of them, but the ones I needed to get through for sure. And around the time that I was binging on YouTube videos, sorry, not YouTube, well, the tarot readers, I bought my first rider deck right here. I bought this one. And threw it in the drawer, and I thought, I want to become a tarot reader. I want to become one of those. I love listening to it. But what happened was, because it was an addiction for me, I had to stop. Like, cold turkey, had to stop. It took a while for me to stop, and I realized that every time I was watching a video, I knew that it was linking to something else that was in my trauma. So I finally said I had to stop. And I did. I ended up pretty much stopping cold turkey. And then, I just continued to heal and didn't touch the tarot. I mean, I was done with it, because it had really caused a lot of pain for me making that major decision. So, and then about, 6 months maybe or so, a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, I got this nudge to do tarot, like to get back into it, like, and to learn it. Maybe I wanted to learn it, and I brought it up to my life coach, and she said, yeah, she didn't really say much. I said, and maybe I want to read it with parts. I want to apply what I've learned through my therapy with you, and I want to apply it with my cards, because I want it to be healing. I think I want my tarot to be healing for people. And so that was the intuitive nudge. And that's the thing about intuition, is that when you get an intuitive nudge for something, it's always very quiet. It starts off quiet. It's not something that's loud. It's not something that hits you on the head. It's something that's quiet. And And so whenever I get an intuitive nudge, I wasn't sure if this was intuitive nudge, because I knew that as you work through your shadow, there will be some gifts that will come out, because you're all here on this planet you have a purpose. You have a purpose. And I've been finding that out, that you have some gifts that probably when you were younger came out, but someone kind of, shoved them away, or told you they weren't necessary, or things that you wanted to do. And I never knew what I really wanted to do, or I didn't know what my gifts were. And I thought, maybe this is one of my gifts. And so, but it had to come from intuition. I didn't want it to come from my ego. And so I sat on it, and then, mentioned that to my life coach. So, maybe I want to apply, parts to this. Could I do that? And she said, well, you could. And, I was waiting for her to get excited for me. I was waiting for her to go, yeah, do it. And so what I did, because she didn't, she just kind of said, yeah, maybe. And I remember it was at the end of a phone call too. And so what I did was my ego took it, or a part of one part of me took it and twisted it and went, no, she thinks it's dumb. She thinks it's a dumb idea. Why do you want to do this? And so ignored it again. And then I talked to her about it again. I said, it's really bothering me. This tarot keeps coming up. It won't go away. The nudge wouldn't go away. And that's another sign that this is probably intuition. It's a quiet nudge. And I said, but you kind of said it was a dumb idea. And she said, I did. She remembers what she said, and it wasn't that. But sometimes you will have parts of you that will kind of twist things, and it's not really what you heard. And that comes from trauma. So it just got, the nudge got bigger and bigger until I bought some books, and, I'm a retired teacher, so I was writing notes and notes and notes on. I would literally watch a couple of my tarot readers that I really liked, and I made notes from them. And so I had, notes this high on it. Still didn't feel like, I didn't know if this was a thing for me. And what I really found was that each tarot reader was giving sort of a different meaning. They interpret it differently. And so I thought, I don't know how to interpret this myself. And then I bought a few programs online from people that were, here's a program to buy. And so I can't tell you the number of money I spent on books and on programs trying to learn this. And it was just like, I can't learn this damn thing. I can't. I would come here and I would sit here and I would try to learn it. And it was like, I can't learn this. And I knew there was more to this. And whenever there was more to it, because I knew it was, I started figuring out that this is what I wanted to do, but I knew, and I kind of knew it was an intuitive decision, but I also knew that when it comes to anything to do with creativity, you have to keep on working at it and working through all your doubts and everything that your ego was telling you. And I do that through my journaling. So I would journal like, I'm not allowed to do this. I can't do this. I'm not allowed to do this. And it just I became aware that I was not allowed to do tarot. I wasn't allowed to do it. And so there was something I had to get to it. And that was another memory I had to get to, that I was not allowed to do tarot. And for, and I didn't know why. And then each time that I got a memory towards why I wasn't allowed to, I would learn more and more about how I could apply my parts therapy to tarot. And the meanings were coming alive for me, which was incredible to watch how it all happened. Like the layers of meanings were coming alive to me. And I was developing my own meanings, and I was applying it to my own shadow work journey. I mean, I can sit here and talk about I can read cards because I'm reading my life. When I read cards for you, I'm reading my life, my own shadow work journey. And so I finally got to the last memory. It was probably about a couple days before I was going to do this. I sat down to do it. I'm going to do it. I was feeling confident about my meanings. And I finally got to the last memory that I had a deck when I was younger, and I could read. It was something. It was sort of a gift I had, and it was taken away from me. So once I got to that, I was like, I'm doing this. like, I can finally do this. And I finally decided, I know what the deck says. I know the Fool says you gotta jump. You gotta take that risk. With a creative project, you have to take that risk. And every time the Fool comes up, I just think of myself, you gotta do it. Were my readings going to be perfect? Absolutely not. And even like when I sat down to do my readings, probably a day or so before, I was waiting for some channeling to come in. I was waiting for some voice to come in. I was waiting for someone else to do it for me, and it wouldn't come. And then I finally went, you know what? You got to turn that camera on and you just got to do it. And it was amazing to see my growth. I think I started from Aquarius because I'm an Aquarian, and I ended at Capricorn. And just to see the growth of just doing those 12 readings was incredible. And I watched my Capricorn reading, and of course I'm very critical, right, of my own work, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh my God, like just the the progress that I made from doing those 12 readings in a couple of days was like, wow, that's so cool. So one thing I've learned about, the creative project, that I know I will get to be a better reader. I know I'll get more intuitive, because when you first get your creative gift, and you all will when you do shadow work, you're not perfect at it. You grow at it. And I also know that one thing I'm going to tell you about this journey, and then I'm going to end this video, is that, hindsight's always 20/20. I know why back in 2019, and I had this big, issue with tarot cards, and how it led me into taking a life decision that sent me into a whole ton of more healing. I know I needed to go through that with the tarot, because I know now that that's not the type of tarot reader that I want to be. I'm not going to be here and tell you what you need to do or not to do. I'll tell you that you need to maybe journal from shame, and I'll tell you it's all going to be about your healing. But I'll never tell you that there's a lover coming for you, or there's someone out there, because, here's the Page of Cups. It's here to remind you that there is nobody coming out there to save you or love you except yourself. You are the one that has to do your own shadow work journey. And believe me when I say that, because I spent, like I said, I spent a good couple years on my bedroom floor purging all my stuff. And yeah, there's stuff to come out. So you're the only one that can do it. And so that's what I hope my readings are for you. This whole channel is going to be for healing. And I mean, if it's not the type of tarot reader that you want, then there's lots out there, tons out there. I know, I've been there, I've watched them. So I'm hoping that you do get some healing from this, and this connected with my other channel, Carol Cares, that I did in 2020, by the way, during the time that I was quite in pain when I started that channel. And I took probably a year or two off from that channel and just starting to get back into it now, because I was doing a lot of healing. So that's my journey. I hope you enjoy my channel. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.